In today's video, we're going to be answering the age-old question, which is better, Disneyland or Disney World?
And I think I speak for both of us when I say Disney
Disneyland.
World.
What? So for years, I've been going to just Disneyland, never to Disney World, and I thought, what's the point? They're the same thing. One's just further away than the other, so I might as well go to the closer park. Boy, was I wrong.
Wrong.
Disney World, when I went for the first time, kind of blew my mind because of how different it was from Disneyland. Now, don't get me wrong, there's lots of similarities, but we're here to talk about the differences between the two parks because, well, maybe you've only been to Disney World, maybe you've only been to Disneyland, you're considering going to one or the other, maybe you've never been to either and you're trying to pick your perfect vacation. We're going to break this down for you and help you find the right park to visit. All right, so let's start with a general overview of Disneyland. So first off, there are two theme parks. You've got Disneyland, the original Magic Kingdom, and you've got Disney's California Adventure. This is all in Southern California, Anaheim to be specific. And in between, or rather next to the parks, there's a shopping district called Downtown Disney. And Disneyland has three resort hotels, the Disneyland Hotel, the Grand Californian, and the Paradise Pier Hotel, soon to be the Pixar Place Hotel. And then the entire Disneyland Resort is comprised of just 500 acres.
Now we jump into Disney World. Now Disney World is considerably larger, like a lot larger. 25,000 acres to be exact. 25,000 acres, that is so many acres. In Disney World, there's 32 resort hotels. 32, that's a lot of hotels and resorts. Now in Disney World, they have Disney Springs for their shopping and dining districts where you don't actually have to have any tickets to any of the parks. They have dining, different shops, they have carts, they have equivalent to what Downtown Disney is, but like 4 times larger. They have 4 theme parks. They have the Magic Kingdom, they have Animal Kingdom, they have Epcot, and they also have Hollywood Studios. They also have 2 water parks. One water park is Blizzard Beach, and the other one is Typhoon Lagoon. So Disneyland is a lot smaller and easier to navigate, and the park hopping is ridiculously easier. So in Disneyland, DCA is right across the, I wouldn't even say the street, it's across the block. Just literally right there is DCA. You can hop back and forth, back and forth. So in Disneyland, there's actually more rides per park. So you have the DCA, Disney California Adventure, and then you have Disneyland. There's actually more rides in there, which also means shorter waits because there's more rides. And Disneyland also has generally smaller crowds, but it doesn't feel like it when you're in the park. I mean, it's generally also a smaller park. So you have smaller crowds, but you also have a smaller park, so it still feels a little crowded. And mobile ordering in Disneyland is a lot quicker. You got less people in Disneyland, so you got a lot less people ordering stuff at the same time and kind of clogging up all those orders. So Disneyland's castle is considerably smaller versus Disney World's. However, it is the original, so that is something that makes it very special, and that's one reason I really do like Disneyland. And one thing that DCA, Disney's California Adventure, has that Disney World doesn't would be Cars Land, and then also Avengers Campus. So those are 2 really awesome things that Disney World doesn't have. It does make it worth going to Disneyland to see those things. Now Disneyland doesn't have as many resorts as Disney World, obviously. They have 3 main resorts for the Disneyland parks. However, there's still hotels around it, but that's kind of limits that. There's also less food available than you'd have at Disney World.
All right, now over to the Disney World side of things. When we're talking about the resorts, there are so many different options. And compared to the Disneyland resorts, they're considerably cheaper. Okay. Now there's still going to be your high value resorts, the ones that are going to be your top dollar, real fancy hotels. But since there's a lot more options, they've got different price tiers to fit every budget. So you're going to be able to still stay at a Disney Resort hotel in Disney World and not have to pay the big budget. There's also a lot more food options because of all the different parks, because of the larger Disney Springs, and because of all the different resort hotels. There's unique restaurants in each of those locations that gives you a really wide variety of different locations to eat. Okay, and here's the big thing, that first one that I noticed, at least when I went to Disney World, the biggest difference I think you can see right up front is the size of the castle. It's incredible. I never realized how big Disney World's castle was compared to Disneyland until I was there in person. Honestly, it's a little disappointing going back to California, but still, that's something that it's a really huge pro that Disney World has over Disneyland. Disney World has 2 parks that are completely unique to Florida, and that is Animal Kingdom and Epcot. Disneyland doesn't have anything remotely close to these, and they're very unique experiences that can only be experienced in Walt Disney World. Some of the drawbacks to Disney World, because there's more parks, they've got a lot of the rides spread out throughout the different parks. That means there's less overall rides per park in Disney World than Disneyland. There's also longer wait times. Because there's less rides, more people are spread out into fewer areas. That's going to get the wait times to be a lot longer than in the California parks. And because of the large size of Disney World, park hopping can be a lot harder. The parks are not as easy as just walking across the street. You've got to get transportation, and it takes a while to go from one park to the other. So it can be done, but it is more difficult. Disney World does typically have larger crowds, and that's because they're drawing a lot more attention from international travel. So a lot of people coming from overseas are going to go to Florida versus California. And that's why those parks are going to have the larger crowds. And also to go along with those larger crowds, you're going to be having longer waits for food, just a lot more people trying to get into those meal times.
Now, Disneyland and Disney World do have some similarities, especially when it comes to the rides that you'll see in the parks. Now, Disney World's Magic Kingdom, comparing it to Disneyland, both of them do have Thunder Mountain, Space Mountain, they have Jungle Cruise, Splash Mountain, a lot of similarities when you're looking at those two locations.
And there is a lot of crossover with the theming. So of course, with Disneyland and Magic Kingdom, you've got Fantasyland, Adventureland, there's some of those areas that are pretty similar between the two parks. In California Adventure, you've got Hollywoodland that's similar to Hollywood Studios. Both sides of the parks here have a Galaxy's Edge. Now, Disneyland does have some rides that Disney World doesn't have. So things like Indiana Jones, you won't see that over there. When you're going over to DCA, they also have the Incredicoaster. They have the Radiator Springs Racers. And some of the cool rides you're going to find that are unique to Disney World, you've got things like Avatar, Flight of Passage, Ratatouille, you've got Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, Tron. There's a big list of rides that are not available at either park. So this is something you got to kind of plan out when you're looking at the two theme parks comparatively. Figure out which rides you think are more worth your time. And all the parks are going to have very different theming. Of course, there are some similarities, but you've got Magic Kingdom that has Liberty Square. In Disneyland, you have New Orleans Square. So there's going to be different areas that are only available in specific parks. Okay, California Adventure has Avengers Campus, and in Animal Kingdom, you've got Pandora. So this is another thing you should consider is looking at the different lands that are available. Find out which ones are most appealing to you before planning your vacation. Now, something that's kind of unique to Disney World that you'll notice is the resorts are kind of what house the fancy sit-down restaurants, the sit-down dining restaurants. Now, when you look at DCA and Disneyland, there's not as many resorts. There's 3. So you'll find that the sit-down dining is more so in the parks than in Disney World that is at all the resorts. So keep that in mind also when you're planning your trip. And we've mentioned this a few times already, but the hotel situations are so different. In Disney World, you've got those 32 different Disney resorts that are going to be relatively close to the parks. In Disneyland, since there's only 3, Disneyland relies a lot on the independently owned hotels that are in the area. So you're going to have a much bigger variety of price and options that are just right across the street from Disneyland. But these are considered good neighbor hotels. Not necessarily going to have all the same theming as a resort hotel owned by Disney, but that's just going to be a pretty big difference you see in the different options available between Disneyland and Disney World. While Disneyland and Disney World both have their differences in theming, in rides, in dining, they're both amazing. Now, keep these things that we've talked about in mind when deciding which park you should visit. And this is something that can be kind of difficult to figure out. So our suggestion is to work with a travel agent such as our friends at Getaway Today. They are the #1 service when it comes to helping you plan and save money on your Disney vacations. Lots of money. So whether that is just buying your tickets, whether it's getting a hotel, or maybe an entire vacation package, these guys have got you covered. So what you can do to save money is click on the link in the description below or call 1-855-GETAWAY, tell them that RTD Adventures sent you, and they will get you right on your way to your next Disney vacation. All right, we appreciate you guys watching. If you're looking for more Disney tips, make sure you click or tap the screen. We've got a playlist of all the great Disney tips that you need to know for your next trip. And until next time, thanks for watching.